little live thing on there. So there we go. We are live. Hello, Luke.
Hey,
That took a
hey, hey.
second. It took a second to rev up. It's been a while since we've done one of these. I know it was hard. You were trying to figure out how to get back on, and I was figuring out how to turn the thing on. So,
So
this is a
so quickly off the beam.
this is a good example of life sometimes get in the way. So,
Right.
and this one was mostly on me as normal. That's why I'm always so happy when I hear you when you can't make something. I'm like, yes, it's
Okay,
not
good.
me. But the last from when was it? October 23rd to November 17th. So that week
hmm
before Thanksgiving, I was doing a 20-day listings challenge where I would go live to a network of agents every single morning and issue a single challenge. And it was a listing based challenge. You and I agree that if you control the listings, you control the market. So I'm not going to do a buyer challenge. I'm focusing on listings because listings, you get more listings, you'll get the buyers.
Right.
That's not true with buyers. You get buyers, it doesn't always equate to getting a listing. It's not always true on the listing side too, but it's more common. But anyways, I would go live every single morning and uh, issue one single challenge to move the needle for them. And I jokingly said, kind of jokingly said, I said, look, aside from personal hygiene, aside from taking a shower, changing your underwear, and brushing your teeth, this is the only thing you need to focus on today is completing this one challenge.
Right.
And I'll look at this after I talk. I can't remember what the exact results are, but I'll share them with you. But it was a raving success. It was a raving success. I got a lot of people. I had more than 1,000 people register. Now, every single week we saw a drop off, which was to be expected. But for those people that attended, more than 80% of them stuck around for the entire class session. It was only like 30 minutes, but no, it was 20 minutes. So it was just bam, get on, talk to
Right.
them, issue the challenge, go.
That that's awesome. I mean so 20 minutes a day for the actual like info session, and then um pretty good retention throughout the span of it.
Yeah, yeah. So we track a lot of metrics. So
hmm
I saw who registered, and we had to do a double registration just because of the way that the system is set up. So they
Right.
registered on one system, and we got more than 1,000 registrants, but then only 20% of them actually registered via the Zoom link.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
from that point, typically what we see, and this is pretty much all learning, from the number of people who register, there's always a percentage that just don't show up. Now, I'm guilty as charged. I register for everything.
Right.
So we're tracking how many people registered versus how many people actually went to the Zoom to Zoom and registered.
hmm
From there, we track how many people show up to each individual class.
Yeah.
Session is what we're calling it, not really a class, but a session.
Right, right.
And then from there, we're tracking of all the people. Now, attendance is just they showed up, they logged in. It doesn't matter if it was a
Right.
minute or if the whole thing, they just
Totally.
they just logged in. And then from there, we log how many people uh, completed the course. And by our definition, completion is that they stay 80% or longer. So for 20 minutes, that's like 16 minutes.
Yeah.
So if they logged in, they stuck around for more than 16 minutes, it kind of gives us those numbers. And I got to look and see where those results are.
Those are some
We
good benchmarks or KPIs to track for sure.
When we looked at the final numbers, because we actually tracked the activities,
hmm
we did more than 5,500 contacts. We did. Let me just find it. Let me just find where it's at. I know it's here somewhere. Uh, that's the great thing with us is that we're so not scripted that I didn't have any of this prepared in
Right.
advance. So I just have to find it.
Any good key while you're looking for that? Any good key takeaways or like feedback that you got from people that went through it?
I got a ton of good feedback. I got a ton of good feedback. One of the things that I often say is that real estate, we're not trying to smash atoms here. We're not trying
Hmm.
to create a new element.
Right.
And history typically doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So those are kind of the two things that you've probably heard me say in the past. And how that relates to this is I was just talking about things that were already known, but it
Right.
gave people a purpose and made them part of the community to where they move. So one of the things I heard from like managers and leaders, they're like, look, it's funny that this is the stuff that we actually often say, but
Right.
because it's coming from you, that now it's monumental. I'm like, look, sometimes the relationship, and this happens a lot of times in local offices, your relationship is too close.
Right.
So when you're too close, you might be giving them like an amazing idea, but because the relationship's too close, it doesn't impact as much as it was come from, a third party
Right.
source. I mean, look at all the real estate coaches. Anything that I say versus anything what anybody else says is not monumentally different.
Right.
It's just I think some people just like
It's
other
like
people.
a it's like a parent to a child where, you
Yeah.
know, they could have a peers, a peers parent, say the exact same thing, and like they'll listen to it, or somebody else, and it's like, yep, uh-huh.
Yeah.
You see
It's
that
it's like
so
and to
often.
your point is I mean, look at our church in the martial. I came up in the martial arts, and in
Mm,
the Japanese culture, you don't train your child. You give them
mhm.
off to another sensei. But you look at
Right.
that in football. You look at that in baseball. You look at that in soccer. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go outside and throw the ball with my son. But what I find, I've tried teaching my children martial
Right.
arts. They look at it as fun, and it should be fun. But my relationship is too close for them
Right.
to actually learn those concepts. Like when I used to teach martial arts when I was younger, and I would teach other kids. This is kind of the lesson I learned now with the real estate brokerage is that um, you can't be the one to teach and train on certain concepts. You've got to
Right.
have a third party away from it to establish that teacher student relationship
Right.
because there's a predefined level of decor. Decorum? Decor? Did I say that?
Decorum.
Wrong word, I think. Yeah, wrong word. Anyways, there's a predefined
That's super
relationship.
interesting. I mean, I relate to that, like, parent or child coaching situation, and it's like you're spot on. The trying to, you're just too close to be able to translate that information. Exact same message, too
Exact
close
same
relationship.
message. Yeah. Now I will say that I from a training standpoint, from a real estate training standpoint,
Hmm.
I've done a lot of production in my past, both as an agent, as a team leader, and and running a
Right.
successful brokerage operation. So a lot of the things that I talk about does not come from theory. It comes
Right.
from a lot of it comes from trial and error
Yep.
because I didn't have a me that's interested in things. I mean, technology. When you and I growing up, we're that age where half of our friends don't understand technology and the other half kind of understand it. You and I are kind of anomalies, and we just saw the value in it and we just kept on, working into it. So a lot of the things that I talked about was creating the 60-second video, something that you and I have been talking about for a long time.
Hmm.
It's not common. It's not common in my sphere of real
Right.
estate agents. We were talking about the handwritten note. I mean, that's
Mm.
something that's ages long. I mean,
Right.
look at Christmas cards. I mean, we grew up with those. Those are handwritten notes, just one time a
Right.
year, but they're supposed to be handwritten notes. Most of the time, they just send a card and they say hi.
Yeah.
Okay, but here are the numbers. So we had over 5,500 logged contacts. We had 549 scheduled appointments, 95 agreements, I didn't define what that was, but 149 listing agreements, 159 offers written, 152 pending sales, 305 60-second videos created, 1,809 social posts that were posted,
Nice.
and 2,582 handwritten notes. Now, what that equates to is the 149 listings taken. If we take the median home price in the United States of 431,000 and we
Mhm.
apply that to this number, that gives us nearly 65 million in new listing inventory, and pending sales would be nearly 66 million in pending sales volume, giving us about 130 million dollars in overall impact for a 30-day period. Now that's just taking a snapshot of somebody's business
Mhm.
during the thing. So they may have had some momentum going into it. What this doesn't measure is the things that they come after that snapshot in time.
Right.
You do 1,800 social posts and 2,500 written notes, and you do 305 60-second videos, you're going to build awareness. There's something that's going to happen.
Right.
So it doesn't track anything down the line, but that's kind of like what we did.
That's awesome that you guys not just the class stats, but also the production stats that are associated with it, and obviously have like where were they at before the lift from that. I mean, there's tons of variables that are kind of like hard to hard to track, but um action is always going to turn into results.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much like when I'm tracking my stuff or whatever, it's crystal clear. It's right there, like right in your face. You're like, oh, look, you did these things and business picked up. You did less of these things and business slowed down.
Rarely when you do something, you have a zero effect on it, right?
Right.
Rarely. However, people also have to recognize that if you do something and you get zero something in return, that is an outcome. That is
Yes.
that is valuable information. And I think that's what I did kind of going through the ropes. I didn't have a me in real estate growing up. I
Hmm.
just I just figured it out. And
Right.
uh, what's interesting about that, I read a lot of books. I listened to a lot of people. Um, I adopted things, I modified things, and I just trial and error. I just used the scientific method. I tried this, it
Right.
didn't work. Now I will say that it was very fortunate for me. It was really, really hard in my early 20s to break into a industry where the average home seller is in their 50s. It's
Right.
really hard for me. But on the flip side of that coin, I didn't have a whole lot of risk in trying to
Right.
do this venture. I have a tremendous amount of respect for people who are middle age in 40s, 50s, 60s that are actually coming into real estate now, that have children, that have a mortgage, that have responsibilities.
Yeah.
Um, and I take that serious. And I know you take that serious too, because that's what you're doing in your training program and helping people succeed. Speaking of which, how is your training program going?
Things are going great. We have so two main things. Still doing the mortgage and real estate component of it. This year we have added on a more of a business opportunity aspect to that to show other people, kind of how to do what I'm doing, like leveraging, AI and SaaS and virtual assistants and stuff. And that's been great just with everything the way it is. But um, yeah, very it, w- I- we have a lot of people that are like families, jobs, like all that stuff, especially coming into that where it's they're taking on a lot of new opportunity there that's different. So it's cool to see.
Well, and the great thing with that is that you're helping people by giving them an opportunity to have a side hustle, to have
Hmm.
additional income coming in. I just read this article from Bank of America. Um, this was last week, and they're calling for prices to go down in 2024, which
Mm,
is which I mean that's a major institution that came in and said, look, we're going to see certain
right.
price compression coming down. You'll never get anyone to say that it's going to go down, you know, by how much, but you are seeing it in markets. I know you're seeing it in Texas. You know, the interest rates. We're still not seeing it here in Southern California. In fact, I was on a call last week, and uh, we were working on, we were talking about strategy, and that you had to inform the buyer that typically when you make an offer, you make it lower than list price, and then what
Hmm.
happens is the seller comes back, and I said, look, we need to make sure that it's market driven. And they go, what do you mean by that? I said, because that strategy in Southern California where I live, it won't
Right.
work. And I said, right now, yes, interest rates are near 8. Yes, we have a reduction of inventory, but our demand, we have a lot of cash buyers.
Hmm.
Our demand is still higher than the
Right.
inventory. And so I said, we're still seeing 102%, 103% of, list price to sales price. And so while I was looking that up, I was actually wrong. It's like almost 104% of list price to sales price.
Mm,
So if you're at 104% of list price to sales price and you want to come in and see if you can't negotiate a bargain by coming in
yeah.
below list price, you're probably not even going to get considered.
Good luck.
But that's much different than the market that you're in.
That's that that it's pretty funny that that's like the standard training. It's like, here's what you do, and you're like, well, yes, but
Yeah.
in a perfect market, or in a regular market, yes, that's it's yeah, it's kind of funny.
Or in a flat market, right? If we
Yeah.
go into a flat market, because now if we saw what was it, was this time last year, rates were like at 3%. I think. If I'd have to go back and look, but I think it was it last year or was it the year
It
before that?
was like 2 years ago,
2 years
but
ago. Okay, thanks.
eh,
Everything just runs
2022,
together.
2023.
I'm going to a
There's some
Christmas
stuff
party.
blurring together here. I mean, after COVID, it's really just been a blur.
I'm going to a Christmas party on Sunday, and I was with the guys who's hosting the party because I went, I go to it every year. I'm like, it seems like yesterday that I just was at your Christmas party.
Right.
Time just goes by, just wow. It just goes
Yeah.
by. It's that Madonna song. Time goes by so slowly. Um, when you're not having fun. I can't remember the lyrics. My wife would, but I don't. But I don't know where I was going with that. But with interest rates, that really affected your market, not so much my market, but it is affecting the surrounding markets.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a rise in unemployment. Citi just laid off a bunch of people. So it's not just in the tech sector, it's going into other
Right.
sectors, and I think it's going to follow. So that's interesting. Oh, but I was talking to a friend of mine, and he goes, "Yeah, but it's not going to be like the Great Recession." I said, "No, I agree with you. It's not going to be like the Great Recession." And I said, because here's the thing, and this guy's been in real estate longer than I have. I'm like, "Look, you've been in through a lot more adjustment cycles than I have." I said, "But here's what I've come to find out is that even though history doesn't repeat itself, it often rhymes. So no correction is going to be directly the same as another correction."
Right.
So we did the Great Recession. I hear things from one side saying that things are going to be much worse. I also hear things from the other side that says things are just going to be fine. And you and I have talked about this. Somebody's going to be wrong. And
Right.
the things that you did in the last 12 months is not going to be, and the activities that you did in the last 12 months or 24 months that equaled whatever production you got, by duplicating that, you're not going to see the same effect because the market has changed. So you have to
Right.
adjust your activities. But that goes into
I
what
like.
you and I always talk about is you've got to have a digital strategy. It's not a fad. it's like a real thing. You need you need to generate. We know from Google, they say that 88% of consumers, and this was a decade ago,
Hmm.
88% of consumers, they go to the internet the very first thing and they start inquiring about any question or thing that they have. So,
I it always uh makes me giggle a little bit inside when you mention that, because 100% of my business has been online for the longest time. And like, yeah, I'm gonna have some analog, stuff that's like, outbound, cold calls that I still incorporate into, as pillar. But it's it baffles me that there's still people that are just
but are
you
they
know
cold calls? I mean, are they just coming straight up? They didn't hit your web page. They didn't fill out a free report. They're like full on. Don't know who you
yeah,
are.
yeah, yeah,
Never contacted them before.
I'm I don't have a ton of it. We haven't done it a ton of it like right now. We've still moved a lot of that stuff online, but there's definitely a pillar of stuff that I've done in the past. It's 100% cold outbound phone calls.
Do you have the metrics on those? For instance, how many dials it takes to get an answer? How many answers it gets to going to an appointment? How many appointments does it go to getting a customer? Do you have those
Uh,
metrics?
n- Not like the exact ones, but just like generally, we were seeing anywhere around like a 15% response rate or answer rate. Um, uh,
Okay,
and
so
and a lot of
out of every 100 dials, 15 people are answering the phone.
yep,
Wow.
hmm yeah,
Remember
um,
back in the day, it was like a 10-to-1 ratio.
yeah,
Well,
for sure. I mean
I mean that's 10%. That's still the
it's on
same.
there, but we also did a we would also practice some pretty good like data hygiene and stuff, just making sure that we had like good quality stuff
Okay,
to
so you're
call on.
targeting certain people. Like if you're going for in real estate, if you're focusing for someone who wants to for listings, you're finding an area and finding people who own a home, right?
So for us, like we're literally just calling real estate agents. So most of them are their information is accurate, up to date, and they're answering their phone a lot of times.
Ah,
So there you go.
yeah. Well, look, I know that
um,
you had a hard stop right now
yep.
at time, so let's to be continued this. For those of you watching, sorry that we've been in the hiatus. You know, life gets in the way, but we're gonna come to you guys as often as we can. Any parting words, Luke?
Let's get it.
All
Rock and
right,
roll.
people. See you guys next week.